God's goodness leads us to repentance. It's not God's wrath. It's not God telling us how wrong we are. If we want to reach people and not divide ourselves even more, that people would never step into these churches, which is opposite of the goal, we have to understand that God's goodness, his grace, and his continual love towards us is what causes people to actually change their ways. If we want to see people do differently with their lifestyle, it's not that we're going to shame them into doing something different. If we want to see people doing something different with their choices with their body, it's not that we're going to create legislation that forces them. People are going to find a way to do what they want to do. We have to find ways to love people. We have to find ways to support them.
Coming live on your radio.
What they want?
That real and raw.
How they get it?
DJ Focus.
What we doing?
Making music, reaching the corner. And it's all for the kingdom.
And we gon' make sure they know it.
Ooh, 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 ooh. We gon' take it there. I like red letters over trap beats to fix it. Saying, ooh. DJ Focus, tell him turn you up. Ooh. DJ Focus, tell him turn you up. Ooh.
Yes, sir. You tap back into the Fixx, your number one source of faith-infused hip-hop, R&B, and poetry. You know what time it is. It's time for our spiritual detox. And you listen, we talk about movers and shakers in our space. Listen, my brother has been doing it at a high level for a long time, man. He is not one just to talk about the problem without trying to work on the solution. And, yeah, he got something new going on, man, and it's a movement. And I pray that everybody get behind it. I was looking on social media one day, and I was like, oh, okay. You know, I know he move in that space, but I didn't know he was moving like this. So I said, yeah, I hit him. I say, dog, you got to come on, talk about it, tell the people everything you're doing. Listen, the one and only, listen, he do it all, man. He's an author. He's an artist. He's a teacher. He's an activist. I mean, he got so many accolades. I can go down the list of so many different things he's been doing for a dope amount of time. My brother, Reconcile. What's going on, bro?
Man, appreciate you having me, big dog.
For sure. How you been, man? You been all right?
I've been good. Been grinding. Been pushing through the valleys, in the mountains. You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
It's always something.
Right. Well, come on, tell the people about this new movement, man. You got going, man. That speaks to more awareness of gun violence and everything else.
Yeah. So I've always been involved in working in communities. It's before I even started rapping. Back in the day when you did Christian hip hop, bro, they didn't want to hear you rap. They want you to, they want to see what you're involved in, how you serve, and what's the realness. Because the mic, that's not the starting or the end point of the ministry and the work. You know what I'm saying? Somebody come to Christ, that's when the work began. You know what I'm saying? That whole salvation point, somebody comes and gives their life to Christ, it starts there. Their journey starts there. Their healing starts there. The process starts there. So to think that the mic is it, you know what I'm saying, that's way off. So when I got into the game, boys was like, I was being tutored up by dudes like Trey Nine, dudes like Patrick and Volo, who was also plugged into like bigger networks of, the urban Christians that was trying to take back their cities. I remember at one point, man, I got so many stories, bro. People don't know. At one point, I almost signed the Cross Movement. What was this? 2011, bro. I almost signed the Cross Movement. But it was dope. I went out the Cross Movement, same thing. They was like, look, it ain't about the mic. What is success? Rapping in front of like the whole, Wells Fargo Center, because I was with them boys True Life and your boy out there Tonic, and he was like, is that success? Because that comes and goes. You know what I'm saying? But success is, and then they drove me to a house over, Philly is like right on the border of Camden. So they drove me to a small little house in Camden, right? And the house was like, I ain't never been to Camden, so I ain't know Camden was like that. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But we pulled up to a house on the corner. Now, mind you, this is them trying to gauge me to sign a record label deal. We go into this house. The house is all gutted out. It's a bando. This dude walks down the stairs. The stairs is just like wood. It ain't even done up yet. Dude walks down the stairs, yo, my name is Doug Logan. I'm about to live in this house. We're going to reach this block. You know what I'm saying? In order for me to reach the block, I feel like I need to be a participant of everything that takes place on the block. And that was kind of stuff that was just rocking my world. You know what I'm saying? Boys was trying to give away things they have. Boys was trying to live with less. Boys was really trying to make a difference with their life in the community. And if it cost them, they was like counting the Christ, counting the cost of Christ. Like, man, the sacrifice that I make pales in comparison to the sacrifice God has already made for me. Somehow that language got lost, but it's important. If we want to reach communities, that's got to come back. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, I always had like some kind of like feet grounded in actual ministry. Not even just ministry, like actual like administrational type things or nonprofit type things that actually touch people on a day to day. I don't even know what it looks like to go a day of not being involved in that type of work. People ask me all the time, man, how long you been doing full-time rap? Never. I've been doing this. The rap was just supplemental stuff like, hey, this is the lifestyle we living out. You know what I'm saying? And we knew that it was reaching the block. But everything was about people, man. And we did some really cool stuff. So with that being said, we the Revolt, just to get on my little elevator pitch, it's more than just an organization. We're trying to mobilize everyday people to change their own community. That's the goal. Mobilize every single day people that feel like, hey, man, I can't make a difference. No, you can't make a difference. You think you can, but man, you are powerful, dog. You can really make a whole difference. You can make a difference in your house. You can make a difference on your street. You can make a difference in your church. You can make a difference in how people see things and the conversations you're involved in. And the organization, man, we're driven by a deep commitment to Christian values and a passion for justice that compels us to stand with those who are often, marginalized. We're in the cities that we're going to be in, where our hub of relationships and connections are: South Florida, which is encapsulates like Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Fort Myers, Houston, Atlanta, Chicago, DC. That's where we're starting this movement and building synergies and hubs of grassroots organizations, Christian rap artists, preachers, and pastors to actually start doing the work and plugging people into the work. It's tireless work, for restoration of communities, but our mission is one, to empower youth, offering them mentorship, guidance, tools they need to rise above their circumstances, and then also to challenge systemic injustices. And that means anything that holds families back, anything that holds our communities back, we should be out there, especially Christians, using our voice to push against those things, to challenge those things, and try to create a world that is better for people that don't have access to positive things. You know what I'm saying? I think too many times Christians is not in the game. And this whole push is to put people in the game. And but our work goes beyond programs and policies. It's about changing lives. And we want to walk alongside people that are struggling. We want to provide resources. We want to teach. We want to raise leaders. And we're calling on everyone, whether you, a mom, whether you just some dude that's randomly involved in a church, whether you a lawyer that doesn't know how you can use your practice to actually, not just defend people or go to court and do the mundane, but actually make a difference with your practice. We're calling everybody, athletes, anybody that has a platform, to be a part of making a change. So that's We the Revolt in a nutshell, man.
Listen, thanks for sharing that, and that was a lot. I want to go back a little bit. Where do you think? What do you think the loss of community involvement? And I love this piece of this is really like a new age of discipleship in my eyes. The way everything you were saying, I'm thinking like this is like really like street discipleship. What do you think the community based piece, where people understanding the importance of helping in your community? To your point, I'm a few years probably older than you, so yes, I do remember. Absolutely. We couldn't do nothing. Even though we was knuckleheads, we couldn't do nothing when Miss Johnson wasn't looking down from up top or Miss Walker around the corner. So by the time we get home, we thought it was sweet. It ain't sweet. Well, listen, we let you play out there all day and thought you was just, clowning. But no, it's a standard. So where do you think that sense of community got lost at?
Just over time. I think you had families over the 90s stop going to church. I think you had when you saw not only families stop going to church, you had hip hop became so saturated, like, and not just hip hop, but like the mentality and the lifestyle and the culture and the ideology and the doctrine of hip hop that kind of saturated, already broken and fragile dynamics of our community. Then you hit the 2000s and people are broke. Then you hit, I remember like 2007, 2008, I remember Obama came to my city because it was a housing crisis. You know what I'm saying? 2000 and Alton Sterling, 2000 and Mike Brown, and you had white churches defund black churches over racial issues. You had a lot of fallout from people even going to church because how the racial dynamic of things. But as time is continuing to go along, you have families continue to not be in church from the 90s, not growing up in that, and then I think you get from the leaders, the Christian leaders, once COVID hit, there was no more brick and mortar church unless you already had an established church. So if you wasn't really out here with the funds or the money, everything kind of came to a halt, and it became very difficult to do. And then what you've seen is the rise of people just saying like, look, either I'm gonna walk away from the game in general because I'm just tired, burnt out, exhausted, or we gonna figure out a way to hustle this online social media presence. And then that made the Christian leaders, I think, just super watered down, bro. I don't say that ineffective. Totally. I just think it's just watered down. There's no centralized mission. Even the cats that provided the centralized mission, like in our spaces, those dudes went through a lot. They went through a lot of depression. They went through a lot of defunding. They went through a lot of feeling like they were just standing by themselves. And a lot of them, put down the mantle, and pass just let the torch just sit on the ground. Didn't even pass the torch to nobody, just put the torch on the ground. So I think all of that plays into what you see in the lack of urgency towards our communities.
So come on, Rec, man. Talk about some of the challenges, man, with doing what you're doing with We the Revolt. Being able to, again, you go into community-based situations. I know, you spoke about, of course, a lot of these young adults, even teenagers, come from broken homes. I know you have to probably deal with some mental health issues or have to bring some of that to the table. Just talk about some of the challenges that go with doing what you do for people who never have done street ministry like you.
Yeah. I think the number one challenge that you're going to get in doing this type of work is that it'll burn you out fast. So in order to be consistent, you got to have like a different source of sustenance. You know what I'm saying? Your sustenance can't come from the work. For me, like, when you go out there, like, man, somebody that I've been spending, I've had things go so many different ways. I've invested so much time into somebody that gets killed. I've invested a bunch of time into people that go back to jail. I've invested a bunch of time in people that you look at the news and you go, how in the world did they do that? I was just with him and he just committed that. And it's like super shameful. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of times where, you don't have enough time, you know what I'm saying, with the individual. And I think when it comes to the longevity of even doing certain things, you need people, man. And people and resources. And the number one resource is people. Of course, having the right people to have a burn and a passion for the type of work. And then the second resource that you need is the funds to create programming and continue programming. There's nothing like starting something and not being able to finish it because you don't have the funds. You don't have the right people that invest in it. You don't have the right people that care. You know what I mean? So I would say those are some of the biggest challenges.
With that being said, you know, have you been able to have some organizations partner with you and help in those areas to where, you know, the things that maybe you don't have but you do need those resources or opportunities for people to go?
Yeah. No, I think any organization that understands what the bigger picture is and they on the same page, it's always a no brainer for partnership. I think what the challenge is, like for example, some of the organizations down here in South Florida that are their funding's tied to the state. The state came through and defunded everybody. So it's like you watching guys that have been doing this type of work 6, 7 years, and now they don't have a job. You know what I'm saying? Like there's so many different things. Like depending on this election, certain administrations, certain lobbyists might able to keep certain work in the state from going, or it might shift the total philosophy on when it comes to justice type work. Um, I think church is always a great place to partner. Um, but in this day and age, churches are really spread thin. You know what I mean? It takes a lot now for like churches are just trying to say, hey, we just trying to get these people to come to church and speak to each other, not just pop in, pop out, let alone get them to get involved in some type of ministry and commit parts of their day in their life. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's a challenge too. But I think for the most part, once people kind of hear that language, like, man, you trying to make a difference, I think people be down, bro. People be down, but it's just not enough. It's not enough people to, you know what I'm saying, out here moving and shaking. And when it comes to, you'll talk to people like, man, that law never changed. That'll never change for us. That'll always be difficult. That'll always be hard. But what I've learned is, man, changing a policy, changing a law, the people that do those type of things, they get up and put their drawers on just like you. And they not way more smart than you. They might have a little bit more leverage and relationships than you. But when we organize and we come together, whether it's our churches, Christian leaders, or our community, bro, we have power. And there's a lot of, when we come together, you'll find there's a lot of intellectual, smart, strong people that can get the job done. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's real. That's real. You know, stay there for a moment. I want to hear a little bit more of your take on when you talk about, because it is election year. We have this conversation every election year about the church and what's the church's stance on politics and preachers pushing a certain office from the pulpit. What's your thoughts on that in church and politics? And whether you right or left, what does that look like? How should the church respond to politics?
Yeah, I think it's a tough thing for the church to do in general. Because one is like, if you jump on one side, you leave yourself open for being wrong in a certain area, and if you jump on the other side, you leave yourself open to being wrong in the other area. I think in this particular election, the church is like has these definitive stances on pro-life, or the church will have a definitive stance on mostly pro-life and the LGBT, issue. But depending on, whatever church you are or whatever pastor, whatever side you lean, like I think you got to be mindful that people come from all type of different walks and spectrum, and people come to the Lord through all different types of walks and spectrum. And more than anything, bruh, I'm going to say this and I'm going to say it once. And if you're a pastor out there listening, I'm going to give you two things that might address that. One, God's goodness leads us to repentance. It's not God's wrath. It's not God telling us how wrong we are. If we want to reach people and not divide ourselves even more, that people would never step into these churches, which is opposite of the goal, we have to understand that God's goodness, his grace, and his continual love towards us is what causes people to actually change their ways. If we want to see people do differently with their lifestyle, it's not that we're going to shame them into doing something different. If we want to see people doing something different with their choices with their body, it's not that we're going to create legislation that forces them. People are going to find a way to do what they want to do. We have to find ways to love people. We have to find ways to support people. Like, for example, I was talking to somebody the other day. They're like, man, can you believe the whoop-de-whoop-de-woo? They out here doing this LGBT whoop-de-woo, and they out here giving away free abortions and all this different stuff. And I said, man, on the surface, I got you. I peep what you're saying, though, on the surface. But let's go a little deeper. Who are the type of people that have abortions? Families with 3 kids already. Women that ain't got no commitment from a man. So she's sitting there thinking like what I'm supposed to do. People that got 2, 3 kids already and they already financially overloaded and they thinking, bro, how are we going to afford another child? You know, young teenage girls. It's like, man, I'm just starting my life and this wasn't a part of it. And I have no support around me. And so as long as you have those type of circumstances and situation based on people's choices in life, you always going to get those type of outcomes. So it's like, as a church, what would be more fruitful? To support people? I think if people felt like, man, if I had this baby, man, I'm going to have financial support. There's going to be something in the law that's going to help me actually afford having this child. Because last I checked in this country, it's very difficult to afford children. That's why it discouraged people from even having children in the first place. Second of all, I think if people felt like, man, when I have this child, there's actually be love and support, not shame around the whole entity, then I think you'll see more people making different choices with their lifestyle and their body. But that comes down to how we as a church, how we approach that. You know what I'm saying? We want to jump down with I just think we just have to have broader understanding of conversation and actual solutions versus just talking points that could be politicized. And when it comes to, the other church, I think that, the reason why you see these pastors making, I'm doing this and I'm that, and I'm going to overlook all this because I stand on this issue. Once again, lifestyle, like how are we giving people the grace to change? And I think that's it's easy. It's easy to say, I hate this. I don't stand for that. It's harder to say, I'm trying to understand and I'm going to try to love this. When I see Jesus Christ, so I don't want to speak from just talking off the top of my head. Sin is sin at the end of the day. Sin is sin. Wrong is wrong. And we should always be pushing people to do the right thing, to have a worldview of doing the right thing, to have a deeper knowledge and perspective of consequences and how God actually intends us to live, right? But I'll say this: read through the book of John. Jesus, every word that comes out of his mouth. What you don't see Jesus saying, Jesus don't condemn sinners for being sinners. He don't say, oh man, look at the sin y'all out here doing. It's like he understands sinners sin. Sinners do some wild stuff. Sinful people gonna do some stuff I can't explain. But what you do see him doing is rebuking people that make a stumbling block towards himself, people that make a stumbling block to God. And I would just worry, I would confront pastors to say, man, in what you're doing, trying to get people to live a godly standard, are you creating a stumbling block that they wouldn't even want to have a conversation? And then woe to you when you stand up in heaven and instead of it was love, it was, man, look, bro, there was so many opportunities where you could have loved people that they might have changed, and I don't know. I just think that's an ongoing conversation. I'm not saying that's it, but I'm just saying that before we jump out there and pick a side, I think we should have, wrestle with all of it versus just, look at the little meme and say, oh, bam, that made me hot. I'm a capitalize on a meme or capitalize on a standpoint so I can get some likes and some clicks and some views and get people riled up. I just think we got to think a little bit more. And people might disagree with that, but that's my thought.
No. We definitely need to think a little bit more. We definitely need to know what's going on with our government and with what's going on. So that's the biggest thing too as well. I think we moved to your point. You made a point about emotions. Sometimes we just emotionally driven or whoever hot and just follow that instead of knowing policies for your own self. So I'm with you on that. Man, listen, I got to get you out of here, man. I got to get you back on. One, I want to talk about this project that nobody talked about. You always do great music. But nobody was really pushing that forever project you did, man. Speaking to married couples, man, and just relationships that happen.
bro.
I want to get a little bit. I want to get a little bit of this out of you before you get here. Talk a little bit, man. Why do you think so many kingdom marriages are crumbling right now?
I wrote a whole book on that. Pride. Pride divides us. Humility brings us together. You'll never find two humble people, calling it quits. You never find two humble people. Two humble people gonna find a way to make things work. And we live in an age of, we let unmet expectations fester. You know what I'm saying? We stop putting in the work. I don't know how many dudes ask me about marriage all the time. I tell dudes, marriage is work. It's work. And even it's like
Facts.
Marriage is like you a cornerback sitting on an island and they run the play and they throw a deep bomb and you riding dude's hip. And as soon as the ball get up there, you jump as high as you can, you swat the ball, you fall on your back, you get back up. Okay, now it's second down. First down didn't count for nothing. That was a good play. It's work. Next play, you got to put the work in, and then next day you keep putting the work. But when you put the work in every single day, like anything you do, I think what I wish people could take away from this, like anything you do, if you get up every day and you go to that job and you put work in, like at the end of the day, there's equity in what you just built. Like you put work in something, you made deposits into something, and now it has value. Same thing with the relationships. You put work into a relationship, you put work into that communication, you put work into that loyalty, you put work into investing into that woman, you put work into, learning that woman. You're gonna walk, man. What you created is equity. What you've created is something of value. If you don't put the work in, and you make no deposits into the relationship, you have nothing to withdraw. And I think a lot of times people they live the relationship on autopilot. They put the relationship on the back burner as they focus on whatever it is on the front two burners of the stove. And they look up and it's like, man, they've neglected the relationship so long that it's drifted. And so that's what the project was. I wanted dudes, specifically men, when they listen to this, to be like, man, I want to love my woman like that. I want to pursue her like that. I want to think about her like that. I want to honor her like that. You know what I'm saying? I hope that when dudes listen to that record, they're like, bro, that's the type of way that I want to love as a man. You feel what I'm saying? Yeah, but it got slept on.
For sure. Hey, Rec, I appreciate you, man. I got to get you back. Yeah, it got slept on. Listen, I appreciate you making it, and shouts out to you and your wife, man, for being great examples, man, of what a kingdom marriage should look like, man. We see y'all from afar, and you can see fake when it's fake. It ain't fake over there, man. We see it's real, brother. So I got to get you back on, though, because you got a couple other projects I want to talk about. But come on, man. Tell the people, man, again, how they can go support We the Revolt and anything else you want to shout out.
Yo, I need your help, man. You listening to my dog right now? Hey, we both on here trying to get y'all to jump into the game. Go to wetherevolt.com. Wetherevolt.com. You can give. You can jump on there. Jump on one of the reach out to us and contact us type button. And we want to build with you. You in one of the major hub cities that we're working in. We definitely trying to connect. And so it's go mode. You know what I'm saying? But we need you. I need your help. None of us, we can't do none of this without everybody putting their hand into the pot. So I'm specifically saying I need your help. Let's go.
All right, go ahead and shout out your platforms, man. How to follow you on all your social media platforms, and is we gonna break this pressure? I just want to know: is we gonna break this pressure track today? Is we holding it, or we breaking it? What we doing?
Break that mug. At Reconcile Us. That's at Reconcile Us. That's all my socials. At Reconcile Us. And then y'all go ahead and go ahead and let them get that pressure real quick. Let them get that pressure.
Keep it locked. You tune into the Fixx. You know the Fixx is in.